and then click on this Desmos activity right here. When you click on it, it is going to bring up a thing that says sign in with Google, and click on that button. So anytime you click on an activity and it says sign in with Google, you're going to sign in with Google. It'll bring up your name and say go. Okay, so this is where you should get whenever you hit go. And then I need you to open up a new tab. Okay, so open up a brand new tab and type in Desmos, so Desmos, and either Desmos Calculator will pop up. If it doesn't, type C, and I almost can guarantee Desmos Calculator is going to show up, because this is the most popular calculator on the web. So you click on this, and then it's going to give us the graphing calculator. So if for any reason you failed yesterday's test, you failed it because you didn't know this Desmos calculator, okay? And I am going to be doing a retake on Saturday. So those of you that need to retake it, you can always retake it. If you did fail, if you've been doing all your assignments with me, you're not failing the class. So today we're skipping the videos because I am your video. If you wanted to go back and do it on your own, then you can go back and watch the videos. All right, so the first thing that we're going to start with today is these equations. And so today we're talking about attributes. And believe it or not, you already know what attributes are, okay? Now, maybe you don't know the math version of attributes, but you do know what attributes are because attributes are in everyday life, okay? Attributes are the key things that stick out to you, all right? And so the thing I always like to bring up is music. Have you ever been listening to the radio or maybe been at a sporting event and a song starts to play and you don't even hear the words yet? You just start to hear the tune and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this song. Okay, well that right there is because you recognize some attributes about that song, okay, that stick out and you know it's your song. Or even I don't know if y'all have ever heard a new song by somebody and you didn't know it was them. And you start hearing them and you're like, wait a second, is that so-and-so? And you, just because you recognize certain attributes about their voice or the way they sing. And so that's what attributes are. Or maybe you're at Walmart and you recognize, your friend all the way across Walmart because you just kind of recognize certain attributes about them. So attributes are just little things that stick out that, identify something. So right now we're looking at these equations. And so when you look at these equations right here, there's certain attributes that make them a linear, that make them a quadratic or an exponential. So linears always have just an x. Okay, so if you haven't done it, we're looking at the second slide, because if you're not looking at that second slide, then you may not know what I'm talking about. Linears just have this x right here. Now it's okay to have a number as well. So like y equals 3x minus 7. Okay, that would still be linear. So what's the difference between this and a quadratic? Well, a quadratic has this squared right here, that little 2 exponent. That's what makes it a quadratic. So if you look at this, these are the exact same, y equals x, except this one has the quadratic, the 2. That's an exponent. So linears don't have any exponents. Quadratics have exponents, but it's a 2, okay? So how's that different than an exponential? And it kind of looks like that the x and the 2 traded places. Well, the key to this is this x right here. The exponential has an exponent, but it's an x. And so that's what makes an exponential. So down here, it says, describe the differences. So this is how we describe the differences today. The quadratic has a squared. So type that in, or if you're not there and you want to write it down, then write this down. The quadratic has a squared, this 2 right here. So if I'm looking at a whole bunch of equations and I see something with a squared, then I know immediately that's a quadratic, okay? So you're typing that in, the quadratic, and right here's quadratic. So the quadratic has a squared. And if you misspell something, I'm not an English teacher. I probably won't even know you misspelled it. I'm terrible at spelling. All right. So then it says the exponential has an exponent. So the exponential has an exponent, I'm sorry, has x as an exponent. I'm sorry. So the exponential has x as an exponent. And the word exponent is just that right there. So the exponential has x as an exponent. So you're just typing those down today in this box. Okay. So if I need to do that again, or I mean, if I need to wait to make sure everybody writes that, then just unmute yourself and let me know. Other than that, I'm moving on. All right, we're skipping videos. Like I said, if you go back and do this on your own, you can watch the videos. Okay, so then you get this activity, okay? And in this activity, then what we're going to do is you're going to take these boxes, and they could be anywhere, and you're going to take them up high. You're going to take the boxes that have the words. So this is linears. And we are looking for something that is a linear. So remember, a linear has no exponents. It just has that basic x. So right here, we just have this y equals x, no exponents. That is a linear. So you're going to come up and put it right on top of. So make sure you put it right on top of the card, and it'll join them together. Okay. All right, there is one more that does not have exponents. Now, it does have numbers, but there's not exponent. So that has an exponent. That has x as an exponent, exponent, exponent. This does not have an exponent. So this is a linear because there are no exponents here. Okay, just x. All right. So now we're looking for quadratics. So how do I identify a quadratic? The 2, okay, that squared right there, that identifies the quadratic. So we're going to put this up here right on top of it. So that's a quadratic, anything that has a squared, okay, the 2. So we're looking around. Nope, that has an x, x. This has a 2. So that is a quadratic, okay. So anytime that it has a 2, that's a quadratic. And then last, obviously, these are it. They both have just the x's. So the exponential has the exponent that's an x and exponent that's an x, okay? So in that activity, you're just putting all the ones that are linears, quadratics, and exponentials together. All right. So like I said, if at some point I need to pause, just unmute and say, Coach Settles, would you please pause? And I will pause. All right. So moving on. Okay, so I forgot to undo the dots. Oh, 1 second. Got a chat. I don't know. It just, Jaquan. It depends on your 4th period. So whatever your 4th period is, that depends on what lunch you have. And I don't have a 4th period, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know PE, so I don't have everybody's memorized. So, but the day that, so whenever you do come back, they'll tell you. Or if you have a friend that has PE 4th period, they'll tell you. It'll either be A, B, or C lunch, and so. I wish I could tell you on that one, but I don't know. Okay, sorry. All right, so on this thing right here, they're going to want us to graph. And so here's where we're going to use the Desmos calculator. So they want us to graph this right here. So we're going to take this y equals 3x plus 6 and go to the Desmos calculator. So we're going to type in y equals 3x minus 6. All right, so this is what the graph looks like, but there's something else they want us to do today. They want us to get a table. Well, that kind of stinks because, you know, we don't want to go and find all these points, but the Desmos calculator can do table for you. So you see this little gear thing, this little circle gear thing right here. Okay, if you click on that, it brings up a table and it says convert to a table. So if I click on that, now I have a table right here, okay? And my table goes from -1. The table right here goes from -1 to +3. So I'm going to go from -1 to +3. So you can add to your table right here. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to type these answers in. And I want you to notice there's a pattern here. So linears have a pattern. This is going by threes. So it starts at -9, 6, 3, 0, 3. So I'm going to go type this in. So this is what you're doing today. So right here, you're going to type in -9, -6, -3, 0, and 3. Then you got a whole bunch of movable points over here, and without thinking, I didn't, sorry, I'm having to move stuff out of the way. I didn't move these back. So your dots are all right here. And then what you do is you can just pick them up and move them around. So it's kind of a neat little thing. And so we just went and plotted these. So this right here, -1, -9, you go to -1 on the x-axis and then down to -9 and you put it. And then 0 and -6, so you'll pick a dot from over here, go to 0 first, and then -6, and then -1, I'm sorry, +1, sorry. So you go to +1, and then go down to -3. And then 2, 0, so you just go to where x is 2, and then y 0, so you just drop it. And then the last one is going to be 3, 3. And it should form a straight line, and which again is a pattern. Okay, so the pattern to this y'all probably recognize is up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. That's slope. Okay, now I consider slope to be a medium thing. I'm not saying it's the hardest thing, but it's not easy. So if you struggle with slope, you're like, oh man, we did slope last year and that was terrible. That doesn't mean you're going to fail the STAR test. That's a medium thing. We got to do the easy stuff. So what I'm about to show you is the easy stuff. Okay. All right. So I'm going to assume that everybody's good right there. And I'm going to go to the next slide. So we're skipping that. Okay. So what I'm about to tell you is actual STAR test questions. Okay. So this is going to seem kind of like it's crazy, but this is actual STAR test questions. The question is going to ask you, okay, where do these dots touch the y-axis? They're called the x and y intercepts. So where does it touch the x-axis? And where does it touch the y-axis? The x and y intercepts. So right here, we're going to put y int equals, and all I want to know is when you look at these dots, where does the dot touch the y-axis? This has no math involved. There's no math involved. You're not doing anything other than going, oh, it's right there. And that number right there is -6 because it comes right after -5. So the y-intercept is -6. The x-intercept is, where does it touch the x-axis? So right here, here's my x-axis. It touches right there at 2. Guys, those are STAR questions. So there will be questions this year that say, where does the line touch the x-intercept? And you're like, oh, where does it touch the x-axis? 2. Where does it touch the y-axis? We have, like normally when I have my seniors, so seniors who fail, I work with them, who failed the STAR test. So seniors who have failed the STAR test have taken it, the STAR test 6 or 7 times. It's crazy because every time that's 3 hours of your life that you're never going to get back. And, you know, and they've always failed. And then they come and work with me. And I'm not worried about like slope, for instance. I'm worried about this right here. If you fail the STAR test, it's not because of slope. It's because you couldn't tell me where this touched the y-axis. and you couldn't tell me where that touched the x-axis. Super, super easy questions, okay? And so those are going to be some of your favorite questions this year. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, we've already talked about slow. Okay, so now they want us to graph the quadratic. So here's the quadratic. So we're going to go graph that. I'm going to reload this real quick. So reload so it starts fresh. All right, and we're going to type in y equals, and I know it's x and squared. So how do you get the squared? So you hit this keypad right here, and then it brings this up, and you want a squared right there. That's squared. And then minus 2x minus 3. So minus 2x minus 3. All right, so that's what the picture looks like. So it looks like a U, okay? And we're gonna hit the gear, that little circle thingy, and convert it to a table. And our table goes to 3. So here's our table right here. Now, this also has a pattern, but it's a weird pattern. So if you remember the other pattern went by 3s, this pattern right here, I want you to take a look at this -4. What's on either side of that -4? -3 and -3. What's on either side of that? 0, 0. It's like a mirror. They mirror each other, and that's the pattern, okay? So let's go type this in real quick. So we have, let's see, what was it? 0, and then -3. Sorry, I'm trying to remember. And then -4, and then -3, and 0. All right. And then we came over here and we plotted these points right here. So -1, 0 just went right there, -1, 0. So always go on the x-axis first, and then the y tells you whether we go up or down. And so 0, you don't. And then x on the 0, and then down to -3. And then 1 on the x-axis and down -4. 2 on the x-axis and down 3. And then 3 on the x-axis and 0. And once again, do y'all see this mirror going on right here? Yeah, these two and these two. Okay, so they mirror each other. That's the pattern. So that is a pattern. It's just a different pattern. This is the most common pattern in real life, by the way, because of gravity. Think of basketball again. If I shoot a basketball, the basketball flies up and then comes back down, and it forms an upside down U. If you throw a baseball or throw a rock, it's going to go up and then go back down. And so because of gravity, most things in life, not everything, but most things in life kind of travel in this U shape. Okay. All right. So I'm going to assume that everybody's good with that. All right, so what are the attributes? What are the key things here? Well, once again, the key attributes are where does it touch the x and where does it touch the y? Now, I screwed up on this and I plugged in the wrong kind of box. So you got to plug this in very specific. So for x-intercept, you can't type the dash or the I or it does something weird. You're just going to type x equals. So where does this cross the x-axis at? Well, it actually crosses twice because it mirrors each other. So it crosses at -1 and it crosses at 3. So we're going to put -1, 3. Once again, that is a star question right there. How easy is that? And so those are the questions that we want to make sure we get right. And then we got y equals. Okay, so y equals will be where does it cross the y-axis? So here's the y-axis, and it crosses at -3. So -3. And then the last point is called the vertex. So the vertex, oh, sorry. So the vertex we didn't talk about last time because there was no vertex, Okay, linears just had X and Y intercepts. But the turning point, which is that, like if I shoot a basketball and it goes up to its highest and then it starts to go down, as when it starts to go down, that turning point is called the vertex. Right here, the vertex would be the lowest point. So the highest or lowest point is going to be the vertex. So this is our vertex right here. So it's just a matter of finding on this the very highest or the very lowest point. And then this is an actual point, so we're going to put it in parentheses. So this point is 1, -4. So 1, -4. All right. And then I know it says submit there, but you don't have to submit. This automatically remembers everything. All right, and then the very last thing that we're going to do is type this in. We're not even going to worry about graphing this. So we're going to type this in real quick. And I want to show you how to get the X up high as an X1. All right, so we're going to reload this to get rid of it. All right, so we're going to go Y equals, and I forgot what it said, 3 parentheses 2. So 3 parentheses 2. So the question is how do you get that X up high? So if you click on this keyboard, see this AB button? Click that AB button and it switches that up to an exponent. And then you can put whatever exponent you want. We want an X. And then we're going to type -6. That's what the graph looks like. Doesn't look like it has a pattern there, but it actually does. And we'll talk more about this pattern later. What we want is practice on getting that table. So to get the table, you're going to hit the circle, this little gear thing, and then hit table. Our tables go to 3, so it's going to go from -4.5 all the way to 18. Wrong thing. So -4.5. It was -3, 0, 6, and 18. And there actually is a pattern, but we just don't really, we're not going to talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later. And like I said, we're not going to worry about the graph today. All right, well, this is our activity. So if you only wrote this down, then make sure you go back and plug it in. And in the end, we're going to be spending a couple of days on this. So you're going to get really good at identifying some of these attributes. So, you know, if it didn't completely make sense, then give it another day. We're going to keep working on it. You know, give it the rest of the year because these are huge and they're so easy and there's no math involved. So I think you're going to love it. So when you do type this in, you just X out of everything. So there is no submit button. So like when you go here, there is no submit button or anything. You just X out of it and you're